Good morning. Bonjour tout le monde. Buenos dias pour les visiteurs qui nous viennent d'ailleurs. I want to join others in acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin people. I also want to take a moment to recognize our host First Nation, the Picmoaginigon, thank you Keith, First Nation, and the Kitigan Ziti First Nation. Of course, we recognize the diverse cultures and histories of many Indigenous peoples and groups who've called this land home. This is one part of our work to walk the road of reconciliation together. And it's nice to see familiar faces in the room. On behalf of the federal government, I wanted to welcome you to Ottawa. We're honored that you've gathered here in our capital. And I also want to give a special welcome to those joining us from around the world. Pour ceux qui ne le savent pas, je suis chilienne et je sais qu'il y a des communautés primeras de pueblos originarios chilenos. Bienvenidos a este país. Es un gusto verlos y todos los que vienen de otros países como Panamá, Colombia, Chile, todos los pueblos originarios, bienvenidos. As a minister, I've been lucky to spend the first months of as a minister visiting First Nations, Inuit, Métis communities across Turtle Island. I've met really great people. I'm thinking about folks like Chief Ashley Joseph at the Squamish Nation, who welcomed me to his territory in BC. Or Inuit chef Sheila Flaherty, who I shared a meal with in Iqaluit. Or Chief Remy Vincent, who showed me his community of Wendake in Quebec. I've learned a lot from them. And most of all, I've learned that Indigenous tourism is powerful. It has the power to advance self-determination and reconciliation. Tourism helps communities invest in themselves and takes charge of their own future. It also engages non-Indigenous people in the national project of reconciliation. Indigenous tourism is often marked to international visitors. But I think it's also important for Canadians to have these experiences as we walk the road of reconciliation together. Indigenous tourism also has the power to create opportunity across this land. It supports thousands of jobs, many of them in remote places. It generates revenues for communities to use on everything from taking care of elders, preserving language, and keeping people safe. Indigenous tourism has the power to transform Canadian tourism. It is exactly what travelers want right now: authentic experiences, but more than that, human connections. Travel where you don't want to just feel something. You want to feel something on a human level, not only sightseeing. It's one of the pillars of our federal tourism growth strategy that we released last year. And finally, Indigenous tourism has the power to bring important issues to the forefront. We can just think about climate change. For people that have been here for a while, never have you seen Rideau Canal the way it has this year. Indigenous people are the original steward of this land, and they're leading the way in preserving it. Le tourisme autochtone a le pouvoir de créer des emplois, des opportunités, de transformer le tourisme du Canada et de faire avancer la réconciliation avec les peuples autochtones. But there's one thing that for me and for this government, it's more important than anything else. As a government, we have to support communities making their own decisions, choosing their own path, and doing tourism on their own pace. This is an Indigenous-led process, and it has to be. It goes without saying that Indigenous communities are diverse. There are many different perspectives on tourism, and there's no one-size-fits-all. And we are here to support communities in whatever they choose to do. Le tourisme autochtone doit avant tout être mené par les communautés autochtones elles-mêmes. Et en tant que gouvernement, nous devons appuyer qu'elles prennent leurs propres décisions, qu'elles tracent leur propre chemin et qu'elles créent le tourisme à leur manière. Our support for Indigenous tourism is led by the Indigenous Tourism Fund. 3 months ago, we launched the ITF with $10 million in federal funding distributed by Indigenous Tourism Association of Canada, as you well know, ITAC. Yes. Through this Indigenous-led approach, ITF supports small businesses, helping hire staff, expanding their offering, and much more. The ITF also supports the original program, a little seal of approval offered by ITAC. Why is this so important? Because people need to know and want to know they're getting an authentic experience and that revenue goes into their community. Canada has the chance to lead the world in Indigenous tourism, and I think ITF will help us seize that opportunity. The funds are flowing. We announced with Keith last week in Newfoundland, not last week, 2 days ago. 3 days, we forget time, talking about time here. We announced 13 businesses getting their support. It goes from Big Land Fishing Tour, who offers salmon fishing in Labrador, to Pollination Farm, which does sustainable farming in the Humber Valley. My friend Keith will have more good news later on today. Grâce au Fonds pour le tourisme autochtone, nous assurons d'appuyer le tourisme qui octroie des subventions allant jusqu'à 25 000 $ à des entreprises autochtones. As we roll out this first stream of ITF, we continue the work on stream 2. We will focus on a signature Indigenous experience. We're talking about the kind of thing that travelers remember long after they're gone. And we have really nice and huge potential in this country. With that other $10 million of federal funding, we're working with Indigenous partners to launch this fund and put Canada on the map of a global leader in Indigenous tourism. As I conclude, let me leave you with this. Today, travelers, they crave a sense of connection. A connection to the land, a connection to the past, a connection to each other. No one is more connected to this place than those who call it home. And that's why Indigenous tourism holds so much potential. And I really believe, as my own story and my own past, that Indigenous tourism will lead the way for this country in terms of tourism. And I thank you so much for all the work that you do every day to make that happen. Thank you.